Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Insurance Explained with Andrew Perlin. Thanks for being here today. So, today I want to talk about something that not everybody knows about when it comes to their homeowners insurance. It's a coverage that is actually really important. It comes in play a lot, and it really isn't talked about, and it's often overlooked, and it's called medical payment coverage. Now, I know you're like, hey, listen, I'm not really interested in hearing about another insurance, phrase or whatever, but this one's really important. So let's just pretend like people at your house. It's like a holiday weekend. You have the barbecue's flowing, the fire pit's going, kids are playing in the yard, all that good stuff. And everyone's having a ball, right? It's your typical run-of-the-mill American picnic outside at someone's house, right? Everything's fine. And then all of a sudden someone trips, right? Falls off the deck or whatever. And their wrist is starting to bother them a little bit and they're not really sure what's going on. So they end up going to the emergency room just because. And next thing you know, they got a broken wrist or in a cast and all these things that go along with it, right? Now, obviously, we don't want anybody to get hurt in our home, but the scenario usually pops up is who's paying for this, right? Is it the homeowners? Is it the person that fell? So obviously, a broken wrist is important and enough to fix, and it's probably going to cost you a little bit of money, but it's not a huge liability either. It might not really cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it may cost, a couple of $1,000s between the x-ray and the emergency room and all things that go along with it. And usually the question is, who pays for it? So that's where medical payments come into play. When it comes to things that are small enough that does not require liability insurance, these are for your small, minor things that happen just because someone's at your house and now people are pointing the finger like, who pays? Okay, so medical payments going to hop in here and cover those kinds of things. The best part about medical payments is you don't have to prove liability. You don't have to figure out who made a mistake or do whatever. All you got to do is file the claim. Okay, so somebody gets hurt, they're in your house, you're not really sure what's going on. No one's talking about attorneys. It's just, I want to get my arm fixed, so let's go and take care of that. Fine. Instead of getting to these big arguments, because that's what leads to lawyers and that's what leads to big payouts. It's no problem. Every homeowner policy has medical payments. To the extent of what they have at the amount is a different story entirely, but every policy has it. So if that happens, no problem, file the claim. There's a couple of $1,000s there that'll cover the x-ray, the emergency room, the cast, or whatever. Everybody's happy because in those small scenarios, people aren't thinking about, I'm going to sue you for everything you have. All people care about, I want to get fixed and I don't want to have to come out of pocket because of it, right? So that's why medical payments is such an important thing. Now, there's two things about medical payments that you need to understand. Number one, if the liability is small enough and you never have to worry about filing the liability claim and you file the medical payment, right? Then the claim experience that you're going to have is going to be a lot different. They're going to write that check within the next day or two. However, if it becomes a big issue, let's say he falls and breaks his arm, and now we're looking at a number that's more than what your medical payments is, well, then it will kick into liability. But when it kicks into liability, the thing you have to remember is you have to prove it. Right. That's when the attorneys get into play. And that's when the insurance companies come in because we're talking about upwards of $500,000. So people aren't just going to write that check willy-nilly. You have to actually go through the process to make sure that this is warranted. So while that's happening, medical payments are there to cover these little nagging things that need to be taken care of and addressed immediately. Okay. If it's small enough and medical payments can take care of it, great. If it can't, meaning the issue is bigger than what your medical payment coverage is, medical payment will still pay, and then it will kick into liability, and liability will take it from there. But remember, in order for liability to take it from there, it has to go through the process of understanding who's at fault, what happened, all this stuff before they actually assess blame. Okay. Usually when liability is there, both sides are now arguing. Next thing you know, the attorneys are involved, and then it becomes big. So that's exactly why medical payments was put on home policies. And this can be for anything. One of the neighbor's kids playing basketball in your driveway trips and falls and hurts themselves, and now they got to go to see a doctor. That's why it's there. So it's often overlooked because people just don't think about it. Everyone just thinks like, yeah, well, you fall and hurt yourself in my property, I'm negligent. My liability portion of my homeowner's policy is going to cover that. Yes, it can cover that. But as I mentioned before, there's steps that you have to take in order for that money to get there. Medical payment is someone got hurt, I'm filing the claim, the money shows up. You can use it for the medical expenses and things like that. And if we have to get liability involved, we will, but that may take a minute. Okay. This is just I got hurt in your house or on your property. I just want to get fixed. I'm not looking to sue anybody. That's why medical payments are there. And that's why it's such an important coverage. Now, as a broker, I have seen medical payments as low as $1,000. Okay. There are deductibles on health insurance that are more than $1,000. So I think the smart play here is having a medical payment coverage that's high enough to cover a lot of this nonsense so it doesn't have to kick into liability. That's where I want you thinking. So you can see it as low as 1,000, some are 2,000, 5,000, 10,000. I've seen it as high as, right? It's not a terribly expensive coverage depending upon your state and the insurance company that you're working with. But I do believe having a higher number is in your best interest because if it can be covered on medical payment and it doesn't have to bump into liability, then it's just an easier payout and it's an easier claims experience. You file a claim, your rates go up. Well, it's a different rate calculation if it's liability versus medical payments. So the bigger medical payment coverage you have, it could mitigate all that stuff. Okay, so that's why it's there. That's why people need it. And that's why I feel that having $1,000 medical payment is ridiculous because if you're sending somebody to an urgent care, probably going to be more than $1,000 if there's any kind of issue. So you might as well have the coverage there to protect you from that because once it bumps into liability, then it becomes a different process entirely. So one of the things I want you guys thinking about when you're looking at your coverage and ask your broker, hey, what's my medical payments at? Right? Why is it so low? Maybe we should think about bumping it up. It's not a terribly expensive coverage, but it's really important because a lot of the claims that we see are minor. And if we could cover it with medical payments versus covering it from liability, it's just better and it's quicker, which is the name of the game because that's how these things escalate. And next thing you know, attorneys are being hired and these claims get out of control, all because you decided to have $1,000 medical payments on your homeowner's insurance policy so you can save like $10 or $15 a year. I've been working with people for the last 30 plus years, and people want to save money on the most ridiculous places. Medical payments, it seems to be one of them. I just strongly urge you not to do that. I really urge you to talk to your advisor and make sure that you have proper medical payments on your home insurance. I would say no less than $5,000, depending upon where you live. Does it cost a little bit more money? Yeah, sure. I mean, it does, but it could save you a lot in the long run. And at the end of the day, insurance is designed to protect assets. Okay. So spend a little bit more money up front. You'll be a lot happier that you did in the event something bad happens. All right. Listen, guys, thanks for being here. I do appreciate you taking the time. Please subscribe to the channel. We're getting some people joining and watching the video, so it's really important that we keep this going. So the more people that subscribe, the better off we're doing. All right. Thanks for being here again. I appreciate it. This is Andrew Perlin with Insurance Explained. Have a great day, everybody, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.